our next requirements for your Fix-It adventure deal with finding several of the services that make your house run, dealing with your electricity, your water, and your heat. So requirement 2A is to locate the electrical panel in your home. So here is the electrical panel in my home. If you're in a house, likely it's going to be in a dark corner of your basement. An apartment, it's probably near your front door. So there are two types of electrical panels. There are breaker boxes and there are fuse boxes. So modern houses are all going to have breaker boxes. Fuse boxes are a much older technology, and unless you're in a really old house, you probably have a breaker box. How to tell one versus the other? A breaker box has what looks like a bunch of switches. A fuse box has a bunch of round knobs. So what this does, this is a safety mechanism for your home. Each switch controls a different part of your house or a different appliance. Like there'll be one for your stove, but there might be one for your entire living room lights and power outlets. So each part of your home, it's only safe to draw or use so much electricity. And if you use too much electricity, it will flip one of these switches. Right? We call that tripping the breaker. Right? So when the breakers are on, all the switches are to the inside. You can see two rows, and when they're on, the switches are to the inside. If you draw too much power and trip the breaker, that switch will flip to the outside. So on this breaker box, breaker number 8 has been tripped. So to reset that, depending upon the style of breaker, you can either just flip it back all the way to the left, or you need to reset it by pushing it a little bit to the outside and then back to the inside. So Paul, go ahead and flip breaker 8 back to the inside. Right? And that will turn your lights back on and your electrical devices back on wherever that breaker was wired to. So that is your breaker box, your standard breaker box. So if you ever trip a breaker, you should know where that is so that you can put that breaker back into place. Again, always make sure you have your adult partner when you're doing that. So requirement number 2B is to locate and determine what the heat source of your home is. So different homes have a wide variety of different heat sources. In my home, we have an oil burning furnace. So oil burns in the furnace and heats up water, and then that water gets pumped to different parts of your house. It's what provides the hot water for my tubs and my sinks. And it also provides the hot water for what we call baseboards that run around the outside walls of the house, and those heat up and make hot air and heats up the house. Other houses have forced hot air, so they have a similar thing, except instead of heating up water, it heats up air, and that air gets pumped through the house to heat it up. You have houses that use propane. You have houses that just use electricity to make heat. And there are several other ways to make heat and hot water for your house. So it's good to know what makes the heat and hot water in your house or your home. A furnace, though, is nothing that you are ever really going to fix if something goes wrong. It takes someone who really knows what they're doing to fix anything wrong with the furnace. But it's still good for you to know where your heat comes from. So requirement 2C is to learn what you would do to shut off the water to a sink, a toilet, a washing machine, or a water heater. If there is a main shutoff valve for your home, show where it is located. Most major water using appliances are going to have individual shutoff valves. So here we have our washing machine. And if you look up towards the ceiling here, you can see two valves, right? One is the shutoff for the cold water, and one is the shutoff for the hot water. So if your washing machine has a leak and water is getting everywhere, you can shut off those valves and turn off the water. Most of your sinks are going to have shutoff valves like that. Your bathtub or shower is going to have a shutoff valve like that. And it's just an easy way to stop a leak and let you fix that. Now, if you have a main water shutoff, it's going to be wherever the water comes into your house. If you have a well that the water comes from, it's going to be wherever the well water comes into the house. If you are on city water like us, you're going to be able to follow this big pipe which goes to the sewer. It's just the easiest way. But the main water is going to come in the same place as where the sewer goes out. So you see that little knob down there? That is the main water. So if you have water leaking from somewhere and you don't know exactly where that water's going or coming from, or you don't know where a shutoff for the individual sink or other appliances, you can go to your main water valve and just turn that off, and that will turn off all water to your entire home. Requirement 3A is to describe how to fix or make safe a few different things. So we're going to start off with, what are you going to do if your toilet is overflowing?
You're going to find the shutoff valve for the toilet, and then...
And how are you going to do that?
You're going to get to the shutoff valve, which should be connected to the toilet, and twist it, and then that will turn off the water.
Okay, good. Requirement 3B is to tell what you would do if your kitchen sink is clogged. So, what are some of the ways you can fix a clog in your kitchen sink?
You can get a sink plunger, which moves water to loosen clog, and if you don't know what the difference between a sink plunger and a toilet plunger is, then Google it. Another thing is a snake, which is a flexible rod that pulls out clogs. And then last, there's Drano, which is a chemical that dissolves clogs.
So requirement 3C is to tell what you would do to fix a circuit breaker that has tripped, causing some of your lights to go out.
So basically you get to the place where the light controls are.
The breaker box?
The breaker box. And then you flip the switch back to on.
Alright. And also what you should do is try to figure out what was drawing so much power to trip the breaker in the first place and unplug it.